That's right, I'm back, baby. Finally, it's been 6 weeks. It's been too long to be out of the workshop, I'll tell you that much. That's all that matters. The weather in Philly has cooled down. It's a beautiful fall day. The heat is on. I don't know if you can hear it rattling, but old buildings, radiator heat, steam vents. It's the ambient noise of the shop. People in other units working away, doing things. The guy upstairs with the pressure washer doing ink prints. It's good to be home, friends. It's good to be back. But my desire to be home and in my own workshop is not what this video is about. This video is about getting back in the flow of making things when you've been gone for a while. And I need to do just that because I've got lots to do and not a lot of time in which to do it. And so I think I'm gonna make a mirror. Now, is a mirror a little bit of a silly project to make? Absolutely. Is it time efficient for me to make a small project when I have so many things to get done? You could argue no, sure. However, muscle memory is a thing. Flow state is a thing. Getting back into the muscle memory of making things, loosening up the creative juices again, getting back into the space and feeling comfortable in the space in order to be more efficient is, I believe, a worthwhile effort. And besides, it's the holiday season. And I know that folks like yourselves are looking for projects that you can create for family and friends as gifts during the holiday season. And this, I think, is a really wonderful one to do because I found through the years of doing craft shows and markets and furniture shows that mirrors tend to be an object that always sells. Everybody loves a mirror. Now, I don't have any dimensions. I'm going to sketch that out real quick on a piece of cardboard so that I have a rough idea of where I'm going. And then I'm just going to start building. This is the kind of thing you don't want to overthink and over-design. It's a super simple mirror. Probably going to give it a little taper, a little angle, something like that to make it sexy so it's not just a rectangle. But let's rough it out and just go. So, here's the situation as it currently stands. I have a few boards milled up. I do have my ash done, but I realized I'm not going to be able to get 2 mirrors out of that. I don't know why my brain did math bad. So, I milled up a second board. I've had butternut kicking around for a while that I've used for projects over the years, and I love butternut. It's a beautiful material to work with, but it's so soft that it's difficult to convince clients to work with often. So I don't usually get an opportunity to work with it, but something like a picture frame is going to be mailed. It's nice and light. It's got a beautiful sheen to it, a beautiful tone. So I decided I'm going to make one out of butternut. And if you're a hand tool woodworker exclusively, butternut is a joy to work with. Food for thought. Now, what I'm doing currently is I'm just kind of laying this out with the dimensions that I drew and playing with these angles and dimensions. I drew 15 at the top and 10 at the bottom, and I'm looking at it, and that's going to look way too big and way too angled, so I'm actually going to draw that in. I want this to kind of be a tiny mirror, like a personal mirror, something you hang on a bedroom wall or just on the back of a door, something like that. Not excessive in size. That's where things stand. I feel good about it. I'm going to mark some angles, and I'm going to cut some angles. Looking good. I like this size. I like the scale. I like the angle. For those of you who are following along at home, the angle is about 6 degrees. We can roll from there and we can do our joinery in one of 2 ways. Either we can cut it like this, and then we can cut some angled tenons on our top, bottom, and rail. But you can also do it in such a way where you have your top and bottom rail cut to length, but not at an angle just yet. And what that's gonna allow us to do is cut a floating tenon in here straight, cut our angle after, and then we've essentially created an angled tenon without having to do any math, which is really, really nice. So we're gonna do it both ways. So let's get doing on that. Timeout. I goofed. I had what we elder millennials call a brain fart. Now, yesterday in my attempt to go through this joinery rather quickly, what I articulated was that we need a straight tenon and an angled shoulder. Now, I didn't even catch myself until I got home, and I realized it doesn't make any sense what I just did, because what happens when you have a straight tenon and a straight mortise with an angled shoulder is you put it in, and you end up with a gap it doesn't want to seat. Obviously it doesn't want to seat. Could I have edited around that and pretended like I didn't make a mistake? Of course, but I think it's important that you see that I am human as well, and sometimes I make mistakes. You will make mistakes in your shop. So the question is, how do you fix it? As the great American philosopher Stephen Quincy Urkel once said, "Don't fret, my pet." Now, there's like 7 people under the age of 25 watching this channel who don't have any idea who Steve Urkel is, and that's fine. I still love you and appreciate you, but like, come on, man. So there's 2 ways we could go about fixing this particular problem. Number 1, this is a mild enough angle where I can literally just flex this closed and it won't be an issue. Does it want to close? No, but by the time we glue that and clamp it, you're gonna bruise the tenon enough where it's just not gonna be a big deal. So in this particular case, I wouldn't worry about it. But let's say this is a longer piece. Let's say this rail is a big, long, structurally important thing of something going on here. Maybe it's a door, and this tenon is several inches long. Now this is gonna cause a problem, so we have to remedy that situation. How are we gonna go about doing that? Take a deep breath, go get a cup of coffee, relax for a second, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna fix the problem. Now it's a very simple fix. All we're going to do is we're going to fill in the mortise on our angled pieces by gluing in a domino. We're going to let that glue set for about 30 minutes. We're going to clean it up. We're going to chop it and we're going to flush it up. Now I'm going to do that with a handsaw and a chisel, but you could absolutely do that on the chop saw the same way we cut our initial shoulders. We're just flushing it up. And then once that glue is set, I'm going to go back to the domino with the angled shoulder so that that tenon is perpendicular to our shoulder line. So now with our angled tenon actually cut at the proper angle, when we go to seat this into our frame, it's going to seat beautifully, and all's well that ends well. Now we move onward. Now we got one frame done, domino together, and that went together in real time, 15 minutes maybe, and that's with filming and figuring out the angles. So once you get that dialed in, you can knock them all out in a matter of minutes. And lest it go unsaid, if you don't have a domino, you can do the exact same technique with dowels, so don't feel like this is limited to expensive equipment. Now with that out of the way, I'm about to break out some expensive equipment, so I don't want to hear anything about it in the comment section unless you feel like leaving a comment down there to help the algo, because you know, YouTube life. What I have found time and time again is anytime I'm doing angled joinery, the shaper origin is the fastest way to do it. I don't care if people have a problem with it, it's just faster than any other technique. So that's what we're gonna use. Now, with our joinery done, it's time to do kind of the fun, playful part of this project. And this is the whole reason I wanted to make this project in the first place. I've seen a few mirrors with just kind of messages written on them, as you will, reminders, meditations, whatever you want to call them. And I've always thought that that was a really fun idea, but they always felt kind of formal to me. They always felt very like rectilinear and like, hey, everything's gonna be okay. And hence this kind of trapezoidal shape that I've made. It feels a little bit more lighthearted. It feels kind of childish and playful. And we've talked in past videos about the rules that I have up on the wall over there from Sister Coretta Kent, the 10 rules for the art department at Immaculata Heart. And there's a few that I've always held very deeply and they resonate. And I think I'm going to inscribe 2 of them on the mirrors, 1 on each. So I'm gonna do it because this is a plaything. So I'm gonna break out that handy dandy origin one more again and we gonna get to engraving. Now, before we call it a video, a couple of quick points. Number 1, hanging these bad boys. Very, very simple. Hardware from your big box store, not a big deal. Glass. I picked up pane glass, mirror glass from the big blue box store, and I gotta be honest with you, the quality of the glass was, is not ideal. My initial intention was to make a template and send it to a glass cutter, but I realized I just don't have the time. There's no reason for me to do that if I'm only making 2. If I'm making 10 of these, if I'm doing a production run, yeah, template, glass cutter, that's gonna be way more efficient, both time and economically. But for 1 or 2, getting a pane of glass, making some cuts, practicing some of those cuts, that's gonna get the job done. Now lastly, and importantly, this video is sponsored by Shaper. And in the spirit of the holidays, Shaper is doing a gift exchange, a gift giveaway, and my contribution to this is one of these mirrors. And so what I'm going to do is whoever wins my particular gift giveaway, you can choose either the butternut version or the ash version. So big shout out to Shaper for sponsoring this build, this idea, this concept, giving me the ability to take a couple of days and just make a plaything. And I encourage you to take this idea, this shape, this form, and play with it yourself. I think that's the whole fun of these projects, is you get to explore and there's no real consequences. So go play, go do a thing, go make a thing, and have a little fun doing it. And until next week, friends, cheers.